I am hoping to find no queen cells as well. Swarm season has begun. This is full of brood. And a queen cell.
Buzz.
Well, good morning everyone. The weather has continued to be bad, but there have been a few good days, and on those few good days, my bees have really been bringing in nectar. So today, what I expect to find is a lot of backfilled brood nest frames, and so I'm going to pull those up and create a second super, and I'm going to replace them with a drawn comb below so that the queen will not run out of room to lay. So let's see what we find. I am hoping to find no queen cells as well. Swarm season has begun. And, they are starting to fill this super. I would say it's about half full.
I have the super sitting on top
Smells
of
good
an
in there.
inverted lid that's resting on the
maybe
ground.
40% full. But this is where I expect to find most of the nectar, if it's like my other colonies.
I'm putting the queen excluder on top of the super that is on the ground. This lets me stack boxes on it without fear of the queen crawling down into the super.
They are starting to draw out this blank frame quite nicely. Yeah, that's beautiful. A little extra coat of wax on there, and they have made quick work of it. Yes, quite heavy. It's got, this is full of brood. And a queen cell. Nice. So now we're looking for a queen, because this has a queen cup, and this this frame is what I've been seeing a lot of. It's they have completely backfilled around the brood that emerged, and there's just the beginnings. Well, this queen cup is maybe, that larvae is maybe 2 or 3 days old, so they're a ways away from swarming, but I need to find the queen now. So I'm just going to start sorting these frames and looking for the queen. There's fresh eggs right on this side. So I'm going to give another look on the side here. There's some queen cups on the bottom. I don't believe those have anything in them yet. Nope, they are empty.
Keeping an empty box nearby helps me stay organized during inspections, especially if I'm moving frames around.
And more queen cups. Actually, queen cells, they definitely have larvae in them, and royal jelly. Several more swarm cells. They're barely more than cups right now, but they do all have, most of them have a larvae in them, and royal jelly. Completely full of nectar. Just a little bit of pollen and a lot of nectar. I will set these aside so I make sure the queen is not on here, and she's less likely to be on here. Although when they're really full like this, it could be. She's less likely to be on here. All right, she is not in that box. She's not on the sides. When I'm looking for the queen, I don't like to shake the bees off the box because she might be on there. If I brush them, then I know I've accounted for her. Okay, she is not in there. That is a solid pollen frame. There is just solid pollen on there. What a great frame. And there she is. We got her. That is a really nice thing right there. That makes all of our other work much easier. So, I want to not lose her. Right there. And I think what I'll do is take this frame, put it back. Oh, I don't want to drop it. Find her again, she's right there. Isolate her in that frame, and we're going to make a queen right split.
Notice that I left a gap on both sides of the frame with the queen on it. Most of the time, that gap convinces the queen to stay on that frame.
And make sure she is still here. Which she should be. She's not on the wall. There she is. She is on the wall. Look at that. All right, so, yeah, that usually doesn't happen. So that's okay. That's a good outcome right there. She's easy to find. We're just going to move frames away, and so that I can easily shake her in. There she is, right there. So I think I can run her right down in there. There you go, Queenie. And I'm just prompting her to crawl down, and she should just keep crawling down. And I just watched her go. So, mission accomplished there. Our queen is isolated in the split. So, without the queen, there's no swarm. Now, we want to fill out the rest of this. I want a little bit more brood. And I need some bees. Put this back. We'll just start sorting. We want to give her another frame of brood and a few shakes of bees.
I'm shaking frames that have some brood on them, but no queen cells. Shaking a queen cell can cause the larvae to fall out of the royal jelly.
That should be plenty of nurse bees to cover that brood.
Now I'm going to set aside any frame with a queen cell. These cells have larvae that are 1 to 2 days old. That means they'll be capped in about 4 days and emerge in about 10 days. Now I'm going to set aside any frame with a queen cell. These cells have larvae that are 1 to 2 days old. That means they'll be capped in about 4 days and emerge in about 10 days. My tentative plan is to come back in a week when the cells are fully capped and make splits. Putting these frames together makes that job easier. On the other hand, if I decide I have plenty of bees and queens, I could just let the new queens fight it out and hope the winner gets successfully mated. There are no queen cells in the bottom box. The frames had some brood, pollen, and nectar, but also some space where the queen could have kept laying. Honeybees are programmed to swarm, and sometimes they will even if they have more space that they could grow into. Now it's time to put them back together. The box on the right has queen cells on 3 frames. I put pollen frames on both sides of those frames to make sure the queen larvae get plenty of good nutrition. The original hive is now queenless. They'll pick the best young larvae and start building queen cells within a few hours. They get the entire field force, plus plenty of brood and resources. The new queen cells will be capped in 5 days. In 12 days, the virgins will begin to emerge. They'll fight it out, and their winner will go on a mating flight in about 19 days. If she's not eaten by a bird, a dragonfly, or a spider, she'll return and start laying eggs in about 22 days. I won't check the brood boxes on this hive again for 28 days. If I find eggs then, I'll know everything worked out. If I don't, I'll combine them with the old queen. In the meantime, they'll store more nectar and draw out some comb for me. If the weather's good, I may have to add another super. That would be a nice problem to have. The split gets the queen, pollen and nectar frames, 2 frames of brood, plus a few shakes of young bees. They'll also get an empty drawn frame and a frame of undrawn foundation. They'll think they've swarmed, and they'll start building up again.
All right, so those all have queen cells. And we're going to go through the bottom box now. We now are just going to fill up our boxes. So we have a little bit of jumping around to do because we want all of the frames with queen cells on the top box, make it easier for me to check them when it's time. So this box here is our second box. And we're reducing them down because they do not have, they don't have a laying queen anymore. They will not need as much space for rearing brood. Our new second box, and we have queen cells that we want them to finish on the right three frames. We will come back and divide those up for splits later. We don't need a queen excluder anymore. And they are going to bring in, now that they're not rearing brood, they're going to bring in a lot of nectar. This is our next super. It's got 4 frames already that are filled with nectar. And we will give them some more to fill and draw. So, because they'll have a lot of young bees. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7, 8, 9. So we'll put 9 frames. This is essentially going to be a super. There's no queen in it. Space them out. 9 frames in the super, because 9 frames, they'll actually give you more honey in a 9 frame box than a 10. Put that on here. We'll remove the queen excluder. No queen, no exclusion.
The original hive is now queenless. They'll pick the best young larvae and start building queen cells within a few hours. They get the entire field force, plus plenty of brood and resources. The new queen cells will be capped in 5 days. In 12 days, the virgins will begin to emerge. They'll fight it out, and their winner will go on a mating flight in about 19 days. If she's not eaten by a bird, a dragonfly, or a spider, she'll return and start laying eggs in about 22 days.
All right, now we go through the second backyard hive, and we hope it goes as smoothly. I need to get more smoker fuel before we try to proceed. All right, we really, really don't want to run out of smoke while we're doing this. And they're, starting to fill it a little bit. Not as much as the other colony. but it's, oh, got some weight to it. They're working on it. A little bit of housekeeping first. This is really full of nectar and pollen. It's a nice frame. Again, we don't expect to find a queen on a frame like this, but once there's a lot of bees, she could be lots of places. I think I sense a pattern. Whoa, all nectar. But it does have some queen cups. Now, is there anything in those queen cups? There is not. This is a frame of drone brood. Just great. A lot of people say, I don't want drones in my hive. Well, you're gonna get drones in your colony. You're just gonna, that's what they do. So the reason I put drone comb in there is because then I have a little bit of say in where they put the drones. This is solid pollen. Solid pollen, wow. You'll often hear him talk about colonies being honey-bound, which is what happens when they store so much nectar, the queen doesn't have room. And I don't know if you can see this, but the queen does not have a lot of room here. They're backfilling this nest with nectar. And a spectacular drone comb. Drone frame, man, oh man. There's nothing but drones here. And if we don't find the queen, it's okay, because they're not ready to swarm yet anyway. But we are going to have to take some brood away from them, or they will, certainly. I'll wait to give them a little smoke. All right. What do we got down here, guys? This doesn't look as full.
You'll notice that I'm looking at these frames a long time. I'm trying to figure out if there are eggs or young larvae in the cells. It's always hard to see eggs through a veil, and the poor light makes it harder, especially when the frame has a yellow or green background.
I think I see her. And there she is. Yes. All right. Queenie, you guys are doing so good. I am going to go ahead and split you. If I can bring this over to the camera. She is right in the center of the frame. All right. So I'm going to put her over here to isolate her. And now we will make up a second split. All right, so I decided to do this split into a big box because I'm kind of out of small box parts. So I'm going to use follower boards to shrink this into a 6-frame nuke. So a follower board is anything that can be foam or, let's see if that one doesn't fit, right? Can be foam or wood, but it's just roughly the shape of a frame. It takes up about the same amount of space. I like the way that's fitting. And so the bees don't have to heat it. Essentially what's going on. So I think I've got this shrunk down to about, it's 5 or 6 frames. I'll know in a minute when I start moving these. And I will put them in here. The way this fits, I don't want to trap a bee. I made these at different times, doing different things, so. All right, that looks about right to me. So now, so that you guys can see this, we'll move some stuff around here. So I am going to put these frames in to my nuke. That's got pollen and nectar in it. Great to help that queen get started. This has pollen and nectar in it. This is all capped brood. This is all capped brood. And these bees will get rushed in. I think the queen was on all those frames. I didn't really look for her because I know she's in there. I'm looking for her on the wall. And I think I could give him another shake or two of bees, which I think I may do yet. Although I think with those frames, 4 frames of bees, I think I will likely do that later. And I will give her a blank frame to lay into. And we shrunk it down to a 5-frame nuke. There it is. Be just about right for a small split like this. We'll smoke them down. So I will give them one more smoke down just to make sure they're not on the top. There's no bee space in the top, which is by design. If you give bee space in the top, then they build burr comb in it. So this is a queen right split. The queen right split. My two big hives are now queenless. My two small ones have queens. These two are going to make a new queen or not. I can always recombine them if they don't. I can now leave these guys alone for almost a month. Only 21 days for sure, probably a month. And I'll check for eggs then. If they do not have eggs, or if they start acting funny, I will have queens here that I can brood into so they can take another shot at it. But I've had really good success getting queens mated here in my backyard. I think there's lots of people with good bees around, which I appreciate. And so I fully expect that it's going to be fine. So, I got one fuzzy new bee crawling here. He's kind of lost. I'll show him to the camera. These fuzzy new bees, they can't fly, they can't sting, and they're kind of light colored, very hairy. So I'm just going to walk him to the front of the hive and let him crawl. And there he goes. I know that wasn't exactly visual. So I will come back, I will reduce this entrance. That's very important with nukes, with small colonies to have the entrance reduced. So I'll come back and put a good entrance.